The king traded his daughter's soul, but the vampire paid a price the devil couldn't match. The kingdom of Velmoria was known for its silver towers, old stone castles, and quiet nights filled with cold wind. Long ago, Velmoria was a powerful land. Its kings were strong, its queens were wise, and its people believed in blessings from the old gods. But now Velmoria was dying slowly, not by war, not by fire, but by something much darker. The roses in royal gardens were turning black. Rivers were becoming slow and heavy like tired blood. Birds stopped singing near the castle walls. People whispered prayers every night, but their voices sounded like they were talking to empty skies. The curse had come 5 years ago. It started when the royal family celebrated the birth of Princess Elira. On that same night, a black moon rose in the sky. Old priests said it was a bad sign. Some said it was the work of forgotten spirits. Others believed it was a punishment for past royal sins. No one knew the truth, except the king. King Alaric sat on his throne inside the great hall of Velmoria Castle. The throne was made of dark obsidian stone. It was cold when he touched it. Sometimes he thought the throne was slowly taking his warmth, like it was feeding on his fear and sorrow. Alaric was once a proud king. His hair had turned silver early, not because of age, but because of stress and endless sleepless nights. His eyes carried shadows that never left. He had lost his wife to the curse 3 years ago. She had fallen asleep one night and never woken up. Her body still looked peaceful, like she was dreaming, but her soul was gone. Since then, Alaric had become a different man. He ruled with fear inside his heart, but he still loved his daughter deeply. Princess Elira was the only light left in his dark world. Elira was 20 years old. She had long silver hair that shined like moonlight when she walked in sunlight. Her eyes were soft and warm, unlike her father's tired eyes. She loved walking in the royal gardens even when the roses turned black. She would touch the petals gently and whisper to them like they were alive. "Stay strong," she would say. "Do not disappear yet." The servants loved her kindness. The soldiers respected her bravery. Even the castle cats followed her quietly through hallways. But Elira felt something strange inside her heart. Sometimes she felt like she was being watched, not by people, by something older. Something patient, something hungry. One night the curse grew stronger. The royal healer rushed into the throne hall, his hands shaking. "Your Majesty," he said, "another member of the royal bloodline has fallen into the eternal sleep." King Alaric stood slowly. "Who?" he asked. The healer lowered his head. "Prince Marin." Alaric closed his eyes. Marin was his nephew, the third royal family member to fall asleep forever. The curse was moving through royal blood, like a predator choosing its prey slowly. The healer spoke in a trembling voice. "Your Majesty, the old prophecy is becoming true. The curse is not killing the royal family." Alaric already knew what he would say next. "It wants something from us," the king said quietly. "Yes," the healer said, "it wants Princess Elira." That night Alaric stood in Elira's bedroom. She was reading an old history book near the window. Candlelight moved across her face like soft gold shadows. "Father," she asked, "you look worried." Alaric walked closer slowly. He wanted to tell her everything. He wanted to protect her, but kings sometimes must make terrible choices. "Elira," he said softly, "do you believe that a king must sacrifice something to save his kingdom?" She thought for a moment. "Yes," she said, "but not innocent lives." Alaric felt pain in his chest. He knew then that she was too kind to survive what was coming. "Elira," he said, "if something happens to me, you must be strong. You must not trust strangers easily." She smiled. "Nothing will happen to you, father." But Alaric did not smile back, because he knew the truth. Something was coming for her, and it would not stop. 3 days later, the castle received a visitor. No one heard him arrive. No horses were seen in the courtyard. No footsteps echoed in the halls. But suddenly he was simply there, standing in the great hall, tall, silent. "Patient, Lord Varon." Varen looked like a man who had lived too long and seen too much. His skin was pale like winter moonlight. His dark coat moved slightly even when there was no wind. His eyes were deep crimson, but they did not look cruel. They looked tired, like someone who had carried loneliness for centuries. The guards immediately raised their swords, but Varen did not move. "I am not here to fight," he said calmly. His voice was smooth like slow night wind. "I am here to make a bargain." King Alaric felt fear grow inside him. "What do you want?" the king asked. Varen smiled slightly. "The curse in your kingdom is older than your royal family. It belongs to something sleeping beneath Velmoria." Alaric's hands tightened on his throne arms. "And you can stop it?" he asked. "Yes." "What is the price?" Varen's eyes moved slowly toward the castle corridors. Then he said something that made Alaric's heart freeze. "Your daughter's soul." Silence filled the hall. Even the guards stopped breathing. Alaric felt something inside him break. The thought of losing Alira was worse than losing his crown. "Why her?" he asked harshly. Varen looked at him carefully. "Because she is the only one strong enough to survive what is coming," he said. "The curse does not want to kill her. It wants to change her into something else." "What's something else?" Alaric demanded. Varen did not answer directly. Instead, he said, "If I take her soul, the curse will break. Your kingdom will live. Your people will be safe." Alaric thought of his sleeping wife. He thought of his dying kingdom. He thought of Alira's smile. Then he spoke one word. "Done." That night, Alira did not know what her father had done. She walked through the castle gardens after midnight. The moon was unusually bright. The air felt heavy, like something was waiting. She stopped near the black rose bushes. That was when she heard footsteps behind her, slow, quiet, patient. She turned around and saw him. Lord Varen. He was standing in the moonlight like a shadow that had learned how to breathe. Alira did not feel afraid. Instead, she felt something else: sadness, loneliness, recognition. "You are Princess Alira," he said quietly. "Yes," she said, "and you are the stranger who spoke to my father." Varen studied her carefully. "You are not afraid of me," he said. "I do not know you well enough to be afraid," she replied. Something strange happened then. Varen felt something inside his chest tighten. He had not felt curiosity about someone in centuries. "You are now bound to me," he said quietly. Alira frowned. "What does that mean?" He did not answer directly. Instead, he said, "The curse has been transferred, not broken." Alira felt cold air move through her chest. "What did you do?" she whispered. Varen looked at her with something like guilt in his eyes. "I did not take your soul," he said. "I planted something inside your bloodline magic." Alira felt her heartbeat slow slightly. "What is happening to me?" she asked. Varen's voice was very quiet when he answered. "You are becoming something that can either save this kingdom or destroy it." The wind suddenly rose around them. Black birds gathered on the castle walls, and deep beneath Velmoria something ancient slowly opened its eyes. Varen stepped closer but did not touch her. Then he spoke, his voice almost like a warning prayer. "Run, Princess Alira," he said, "before the kingdom realizes what you are becoming." Alira stood still, because for the first time in her life, she felt power waking inside her chest like a sleeping beast preparing to rise. And far beneath the castle, something inside the darkness began to move toward her like it had been waiting for centuries. The night after the visitor's arrival was strange. Velmoria Castle did not sleep. The wind moved slowly through the long stone corridors, making soft whispering sounds. The torches on the walls burned with weak golden light, as if they were afraid of the darkness outside. Princess Alira could not sleep. She sat near her bedroom window, looking at the moon. The moon was pale and quiet like a watchful eye in the sky. Since meeting Lord Varen, something inside her had changed. She could feel her heartbeat more clearly. Not faster, not slower, just different, like her heart was learning a new rhythm. And sometimes she heard whispers, soft voices, gentle, old, like they were coming from deep underwater. They called her name. "Alira, Alira, wake up," She pressed her hand against her chest. "Who is calling me?" she whispered to herself, but there was no answer. Meanwhile, deep inside the royal castle chambers, King Alaric was not sleeping either. He stood near a large map of Velmoria, studying the borders of his kingdom. His advisors had already left him alone. Alaric felt guilt growing inside him like heavy stones inside his chest. He had made the bargain to save his kingdom, but he had not told Elira. He loved her too much to watch her suffer fear. Yet now he wondered if love without truth was also a kind of betrayal. He closed his eyes. "I did what I had to do," he whispered to the empty room. But his voice sounded unsure. Outside the castle, Lord Varen stood on a high tower balcony. He did not need sleep. The night was his world. He watched the kingdom below him. Houses with warm lights inside, families eating dinner, children sleeping safely. For centuries he had watched humans live short, fragile lives. He had learned not to care. But Elira was different. He remembered the first time he saw her. She had been walking in the royal gardens, touching black rose petals gently like they were still beautiful. Most people feared the black roses, but she had not feared them. Varen felt something dangerous growing inside him. Not hunger, something much worse. Hope. He had not felt hope in hundreds of years. He closed his eyes. "You are becoming a problem," he whispered to himself. Because he knew what would happen next. If Elira became too emotionally connected to him, the curse would become stronger, and she might lose control of the dark power inside her blood. The next morning, Elira decided to search for answers. She went to the royal library. The library was very old. It had tall wooden shelves that reached the ceiling. Dust floated in sunlight coming from small windows. Old books contained stories about Velmoria's past kings and queens, and about forgotten magic. Elira found a book about ancient curses. She sat down on a wooden chair and began reading. The book described a sleeping power beneath Velmoria, not a demon, not a spirit, something older, something that fed on royal bloodlines because royal blood carried strong emotional energy. The book said, "The chosen royal child will become the bridge between life and death." Elira felt cold fear move through her body. She kept reading. The bridge would have two possible endings. Either the child would become a ruler of darkness, or they would sacrifice themselves to break the curse forever. Elira closed the book slowly. She did not know which future scared her more, becoming powerful but losing herself, or dying to save everyone she loved. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her, slow, soft, familiar. "Elira," she turned around. It was Varen. He stood near the library door like a shadow that had learned how to stand in sunlight without disappearing. "You should not read that book," he said. "Why?" she asked. "Because knowledge can become fear," he said. Elira looked at him carefully. "You knew about this curse before coming here," she said. "Yes." "Then why did you make the bargain with my father?" Varen did not answer immediately. He walked closer slowly, stopping a few steps away from her. "I made the bargain because I wanted to save you," he said. Elira felt something strange in her chest, not fear, not anger, something warmer. "But you took something from me," she said softly. "I did not take it," he said. "I connected you to it." Elira frowned. "What does that mean?" Varen looked at her with deep sadness. "The curse feeds on fear, on loneliness, on heartbreak. I gave you the ability to survive it." Elira stayed quiet. Then she asked the question that had been in her heart since meeting him. "Are you good or bad?" Varen smiled faintly. "I am neither," he said. "I am just someone who has made many mistakes." That afternoon, strange things began happening inside the castle. Servants heard whispers in empty rooms. Some soldiers felt sudden cold wind passing behind them. And Elira felt stronger emotions than before. Her anger felt sharper. Her sadness felt deeper. Even her happiness felt brighter and more intense. She went to the castle gardens to calm herself. Varen followed her silently. "You are changing faster than I expected," he said. Elira turned to him. "I do not want to become a monster," she said. Varen's expression softened. "You are not becoming a monster," he said. "You are becoming powerful. Power only becomes darkness if the heart carrying it becomes empty." Elira looked at him carefully. "Have you ever loved someone?" she asked. Varen was quiet for a long time. "Yes," he finally said. "What happened?" "They died," he said simply. Elira felt pain in her chest at his words. "How long have you been alive?" she asked. "Long enough to forget my original age," he said. She realized then how lonely immortality must feel. That night the whispers returned stronger, but this time they were not gentle. They were urgent. "Wake up, child of blood, wake up, princess of darkness." Elira walked through the castle halls in her sleep-like state, following the voices. Varen felt it immediately. He appeared beside her like a moving shadow. "Elira," he said sharply, "stop." But she kept walking. The voices were calling her toward the underground tunnels beneath the castle, toward something ancient, something alive. Varen grabbed her wrist gently. "Elira, listen to me," he said. "If you go down there, you may not come back as yourself." Elira turned to look at him. Her eyes had darkened slightly at the edges. "I am not afraid," she said quietly, and then she smiled softly. "But are you afraid of losing me?" Varen did not answer, because he was afraid, terrified, more than he had been in centuries. They reached the underground chamber entrance. Old stone doors stood closed. Symbols of forgotten magic were carved into the walls. The whispers became louder, and then, suddenly, the doors opened by themselves. Dark wind flowed out from inside. Elira took one step forward. Varen stood behind her, his hands slightly shaking. "Elira," he said quietly. "Yes," she asked. "If you go inside, I cannot follow you." She turned to look at him. For a long moment they just looked at each other. Then Elira spoke softly. "Then wait for me." She stepped inside the darkness. The doors closed behind her. Varen stood alone in the silent corridor. And deep inside the underground darkness, Elira heard one final voice. It was not gentle. It was powerful. It was old. And it said, "Welcome home, daughter of the sleeping queen." The darkness inside the underground chamber was deep and quiet. Princess Elira stood still. The air felt heavy, like the weight of old memories was pressing gently against her chest. She could hear her own heartbeat clearly. Slow. Steady, different from before. The whispers had stopped. Now there was only silence. Then slowly a soft light began to appear in front of her. It was pale silver light, like moonlight trapped inside glass. And inside that light a woman slowly formed. She was tall and graceful. Her long hair looked like dark water moving in slow waves. Her eyes were calm, tired, and filled with endless memories. Elira knew, without being told, who this was. The sleeping queen, her mother. Queen Selira had died 3 years ago. Or at least that was what everyone believed. Elira felt her throat tighten. "Mother," she whispered. The queen smiled softly. "Yes, my child," the queen said. Her voice sounded like soft wind moving through old trees. "You have grown beautifully." Elira felt tears forming in her eyes. "I thought you were gone," she said. The queen shook her head slowly. "I am not fully alive," she said, "and not fully gone either. I am part of the curse now." Elira felt fear and sadness mixed together inside her heart. "What curse?" she asked. The queen looked at her with deep sadness. "The curse of Valmoria is older than our kingdom," she said. "It was born from forgotten magic, magic that feeds on power, fear, and royal blood." Elira remembered the book she had read in the library. "The bridge between life and death," she whispered. The queen nodded. "You are that bridge, Elira." Meanwhile, outside the underground chambers, Varen stood alone in the dark hallway. His hands were clenched tightly at his sides. He could feel Elira's presence inside the chamber, but he could not go inside. The magic protecting that place was ancient and powerful. It would destroy him if he tried to enter. Varen closed his eyes. For centuries, he had survived by not caring about anyone. Now he was standing outside a door, waiting for someone he cared about to return safely. He did not like this feeling. It was dangerous. Love made immortals weak, and Varen had already made too many emotional mistakes in his long life. Inside the chamber, Alira spoke again. "Mother, did father know about this?" The queen was silent for a moment. "Yes," she said finally. Alira felt something inside her chest break slightly. "He made the bargain," she said quietly. "Yes." "Why did he not tell me?" The queen walked closer to her daughter. "Because he loves you," she said gently. "And love sometimes makes people choose protection over truth." Alira felt tears fall slowly down her cheeks. "But I do not want to be something powerful if I have to lose who I am," she said. The queen touched her cheek gently. "You are afraid of becoming darkness," she said. "Yes." The queen smiled softly. "Darkness is not always evil," she said. "Darkness is where seeds grow before they become flowers." Alira felt confused. "What do you mean?" "You are not becoming a monster," the queen said. "You are becoming the next ruler of the sleeping power beneath Velmoria." Alira's heart began beating faster. "I do not want to rule darkness," she said. The queen looked sad. "But darkness will rise whether you accept it or not," she said. "The only question is whether you will control it or let it control you." Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook slightly. Alira felt something deep below the kingdom waking up. A presence, old, powerful, hungry. The queen's expression changed. "It is waking earlier than expected," she said. "What is waking?" Alira asked. "The ancient being that created the curse," the queen said. "It wants a royal body to live inside." Alira felt fear rising inside her chest. "And it wants me," she said. "Yes," the queen said. Alira closed her eyes. She thought about her father, about the kingdom, about Varen, and then she made a decision. "I will not become its servant," she said firmly. The queen smiled proudly. "You have your father's strength," she said. Outside, Varen suddenly felt magic energy growing stronger. He opened his eyes sharply. "Alira," he whispered. He felt something changing inside the underground chamber. The curse was reacting to her emotions. Fear made it stronger. But determination made it stronger in a different way. Transformation. Varen felt panic rise inside him. If Alira transformed completely inside that chamber, she might never return as the same person. Inside the chamber, the queen spoke again. "There is one more truth you must know," she said. "What truth?" Alira asked. "The vampire who helped your father," the queen said slowly, "is not only here to save the kingdom." Alira felt her heart tighten. "He is here because he feels something for you." Alira felt surprised. "What do you mean?" The queen smiled gently. "Immortals rarely allow themselves to feel love," she said, "because love is painful for them." Alira thought about Varen's tired eyes, his loneliness, his quiet voice. "I think he is lonely," she said softly. "Yes," the queen said. "And you are someone who reminds him that emotions are still alive." Suddenly, black shadows started moving inside the chamber walls. The ancient being was trying to speak through darkness itself. "Child of royal blood, accept power, become eternal." Alira felt power rising inside her chest. Not fear, not anger, something stronger, control. She raised her hand slowly. Dark magic moved around her fingers like black smoke. She did not feel afraid. She felt calm. The queen watched proudly. "You are stronger than I was," she said. At the same time, outside the chamber, Varen felt the magical barrier weakening. He knew Alira was using power inside, but he also felt something terrifying. The curse was starting to choose her, not forcefully, gently, like temptation. Varen whispered to himself, "Please do not lose yourself." For the first time in centuries, he felt fear of losing someone he loved, not death, but losing their soul to darkness. Inside the chamber, Alira heard the ancient being's voice again. "Become my queen and you will rule forever." Alira thought about immortality. Then she thought about her father growing old, about people living and dying naturally, about Varen who could never grow old beside her. She took a deep breath and spoke loudly and clearly. "I will not become your queen." The chamber shook violently. Dark magic exploded outward. The queen's spirit began fading slowly. Elira, she said softly, remember this. Power is not what defines you, choice is. Elira cried softly. I will miss you, she said. The queen smiled. I am always inside your bloodline magic, she said. You are never alone. Then the spirit disappeared. The underground doors suddenly opened. Elira walked out slowly. Varen was waiting. He looked at her carefully, searching her face for signs of loss. Then he asked quietly, Are you still you? Elira smiled softly through her tears. Yes. Varen closed his eyes in relief. For the first time in centuries he felt hope again. But far beneath Velmoria the ancient being spoke in darkness. Very well, I will wait longer. She will come to me willingly one day. The kingdom of Velmoria was quiet. Too quiet. The wind moved slowly through the castle towers. Black roses in the royal garden swayed gently like they were whispering secrets to the night sky. Princess Elira stood on the highest tower balcony. She was not the same girl she used to be. Something inside her had changed after meeting her mother's spirit in the underground chamber. Her magic was stronger now. Not wild, not uncontrollable, but calm, like deep ocean water hiding powerful currents beneath the surface. She could feel the ancient power beneath Velmoria watching her, waiting for her decision, because now she knew the truth. She was not only the bridge between life and death. She was born to rule the darkness, but she did not know if she wanted that destiny. King Alaric stood behind her quietly. He looked older now. The stress of the curse, the fear of losing his kingdom, and the guilt of hiding the truth from his daughter had taken years from him. Elira, he said softly. She turned around. Father, she said. They looked at each other in silence. There was love there and regret. Alaric walked closer slowly. You know the truth now, he said. Yes, Elira replied. The king lowered his head slightly. I am sorry, he said. I made the bargain because I was afraid of losing you. Elira felt tears in her eyes. I know, she said softly. They stood together for a long moment. Then Alaric spoke again. You must choose your future, he said. Not because of me, not because of the kingdom. Because of who you want to become. Elira nodded slowly. But deep inside the castle, something was waking up. The ancient being beneath Velmoria was getting stronger. It could feel Elira's emotional connection to the kingdom, and emotional bonds were weakness, or strength, depending on how they were used. That night, Varen came to the royal gardens. He found Elira standing near the black rose bushes. Moonlight shined on her silver hair. She looked peaceful, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. You are thinking too much, he said softly. Elira turned to him. Do you know what I am meant to become, she asked. Varen stayed silent for a moment. Yes, he said finally. And you still stayed beside me, she asked. Yes. Why? Varen walked closer slowly. Because I have lived for centuries, he said. I have seen kingdoms rise and fall. I have seen kings become tyrants. I have seen love disappear with time. He stopped a few steps away from her. But you are different. How? She asked. You still choose kindness even when you are gaining power. Elira felt her heart tighten. I am afraid of losing myself, she said quietly. Varen looked at her with deep emotion in his eyes. Then do not fight darkness, he said. Control it, balance it. Elira smiled softly. You have become very wise for someone who calls himself a mistake, she said. Varen smiled slightly. I learned from my mistakes over many centuries. Suddenly, the sky above Velmoria changed. The moon turned dark red. The ground shook slightly. Elira immediately felt the ancient being's presence grow stronger. It was speaking directly into her mind now. Child of royal blood, your time has come, accept your destiny. Elira clenched her hands. No, she whispered, but the voice continued. You cannot resist forever. Varen noticed her pain immediately. Elira, he said. I can hear it, she said. It is stronger tonight. Varen realized something terrible. The ancient being was preparing to fully awaken, and it wanted Elira as a host, not through force, through emotional pressure, fear, loneliness, Responsibility. The next day, chaos began spreading through Velmoria. People reported hearing strange voices in their dreams. Some soldiers felt sudden weakness. Flowers in the royal garden started turning black faster than before. The curse was expanding. King Alaric called his advisors. "We must prepare the kingdom for war against darkness," he said, but Alira shook her head. "This is not a war," she said. Everyone looked at her. "This is a choice," she said calmly. That night, Alira went alone to the underground chamber. Varen followed her silently. "Alira," he said, "if you go inside alone, the being may try to control you completely." "I know," she said. "Then why go?" Alira turned to look at him. "Because I want to make my own decision," she said. Varen felt something painful inside his chest. He was afraid, not of losing the kingdom, but of losing her. Alira entered the underground chamber. The doors closed behind her. Darkness surrounded her. Then the ancient being spoke. "You came willingly." "Yes," Alira said. "You are stronger than your mother was. I know. You will rule eternity." Alira took a deep breath. "I do not want eternity," she said. The darkness moved around her like living smoke. "Then why come?" "Because I want balance," she said. "Not destruction, not eternal darkness. Not eternal light, balance." The darkness became silent. Then it laughed softly. "You are interesting, child." Outside, Varen felt magic energy rising violently. He knew something was happening. Either Alira would control the power or the power would consume her. He whispered quietly into the night, "Please come back to me." For the first time in centuries, he was praying. Inside the chamber, Alira made her final decision. She did something unexpected. Instead of fighting the darkness, she accepted it, but she did not surrender to it. She said, "You will not control me, but you may live inside me if you follow my rules." The ancient being became quiet. Then slowly power flowed into her body, not violently, like water entering deep ground. Alira felt pain, but also strength. Her eyes turned dark for a moment, then returned to normal. She was still herself, but stronger. The underground chamber doors opened. Varen was standing there. He looked at her carefully. "Are you still you?" he asked softly. Alira smiled. "Yes." Varen walked closer and finally touched her hand. For him, touching someone was rare, dangerous, beautiful. "I was afraid I would lose you," he said quietly. "I am still here," she said. Varen closed his eyes in relief. Then he said something he had never said before in his life. "I love you." Alira's heart stopped for a moment. Then she smiled softly. "I know," she said. "And?" he asked nervously. "And I love you too." Years passed. Alira became queen of Velmoria. She ruled with wisdom and kindness. The kingdom did not fear darkness anymore, because their queen carried both light and darkness inside her. Varen stayed beside her, not as a master, not as a ruler, but as someone who had finally found home. The black roses in the royal gardens now had red hearts growing inside their petals. And deep beneath Velmoria, the ancient being slept peacefully, because it had finally found a queen who ruled it with balance, not fear.